Hi, it's Corey, and I am back. Today, I'm going to talk with you about what we are calling the FAIRRR life cycle of an investment, which is our strategy with mobile home parks. In this cycle, in this strategy, we will be able to reuse the same chunk of capital to acquire over time multiple properties. So let's dive in. So here's a graphic that illustrates the cycle. And before I begin with this, let me say this isn't the only option. This is our plan A. This does depend on a few things which we can control, such as improving value, which I'll get to in a bit. And also, though, can be affected by market conditions. So there are things that might make us do something else, like sell a property or just hold and wait. But this is plan A. Lending conditions permitting, if we're not in the middle of some giant recession, this is what we plan to do. So the first step is to fundraise capital. We find a group of people who are looking for returns, and we have developed a bunch of relationships with brokers and are fairly, at this point, getting better and better at finding properties that can help provide those returns. So it's an opportunity for investors. Then we acquire, we go find the mobile home park that hits those, that projects to hit those targets that we talk to the investors about. We like to target a 5% cash on cash return year one, which can be improved over time, but that's a minimum. And then we like to try to find properties that look like they can provide a 20% IRR at year 5. So that's what we do. That's what we're looking for. And so we acquire, we go through due diligence, we make sure it's a good property, we buy it, we close it, we transition it, and then we move on to trying to improve it. So this can mean filling vacant. This can mean bringing in new homes to fill empty lots. It can mean rehabbing existing empty homes so that we can bring tenants into those. If the property's under market on the rents, it can mean bringing the property up to what we did in our market studies determine is the market rent over a number of years. And then even then the market rent should at least increase with inflation. So and it can mean reducing expenses if we can fix a leaky water pipe to cut down on the water bill. If we can reduce a management expense by taking the biggest scope of the typical manager's collections, and if we can automate that, and then maybe we find someone who can do the management for less because now it's a much smaller scope. It's just being a point of contact and a liaison for the tenants. We can do all of these things. So we improve the value. And when we, as a good metric, if you're operating at about an 8% cap rate, just let's say it could be, this can vary, but at an 8% cap rate for every $2,000 you add to the annual income, net operating income, you increase the value of the property by $25,000. So over 5 years, if you can add a bunch of money to the income, you can significantly increase the value of the property. So that's how the value is improved. So then say year 5 is always our kind of goal that we have in mind. Somewhere around year 5, with our newly highly valued, much higher valued property, we go and we've got relationships with several loan brokers and banks who are willing to do this for the right properties. We would go and get a new appraisal and refinance the property at a higher value. So let's say that bankers are willing to lend at 70%. Let's say you had $1 million property and you had a $700,000 loan. If you were able to increase the value of that property to 1.5 million by increasing the net operating income, then now you could go get a 70% of 1.5 million, which, oh boy, I made my math tricky there. I believe it'll be 1.15. Then you pay off whatever hasn't been paid down of the 7, and whatever's left over of that you could use to distribute to investors, which hopefully they would love the fact that they still have a cash flowing asset. They haven't had to sell it. They don't have to pay taxes on it. And hopefully they would want to turn around and put that into the next mobile home park. So you can keep recycling. So that's the refinance, reinvest into the next park with the same money that you originally had, and then repeat. And we would go through the cycle over and over. So that is the FAIRRR. And I do have to say that this was shamelessly not taken, but inspired by what Bigger Pockets calls the BRRRR method, which is more related to single family homes. It's buy, rent, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, which is the same concept of the single family home. In this case, there's not so much renting one thing and rehabbing it. It's really fundraising, acquiring it, and then it's improving that value by bringing the net operating income up, making it a nicer place to live so you can attract tenants that want to pay more rent, all of that. So yeah, that's the cycle. Hope you enjoyed that. Cheers.